I'm Sarah Nagel. I've spent my career leading research and product development within some of the world's largest brands.
And I'm Chad Reynolds. I'm a serial entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Verve.
And this is AI Powered by People.
Each episode will dive into the latest AI developments and talk to an industry leader to help you better understand and utilize AI.
We'll take you inside some of the world's most famous companies and share examples of how AI is improving innovation, consumer engagement, media, and marketing.
No matter what industry you work in, we'll help you navigate one of the biggest disruptions to organizations and people today.
It's a special episode.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it. It's the end of 2024, and this is our wrapped episode.
So is this number 50?
It is number 50.
Okay.
It's a big milestone.
It is.
Yeah. It's been an interesting year of, kind of going through this. We learned how to do a podcast, thinking back on
Still learning.
Still learning. Exactly. But, a lot has changed this year. Thinking back in January, when we started this, the company was a very different company. Yeah. So I feel like we've just been learning so much as we've been doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I guess 4 weeks or 4 months into the year is when we launched AI agents out at the Google conference. But it seems like that was years ago that we got started. So yeah, so much has changed in...
describe what the company was in January.
So in January, we were more focused on building out system agents that were analyzing a bunch of data, generating insights. And I would say that was kind of the extent of it. And then as we started to collect more and more information, we started to look at, well, what if we could use that same framework and then actually have it personify people. Mm-hmm. And so because we had all the people data, that became, kind of a logical next step for us, I would imagine, to just start to create personas of people and consumers and experts and then have them work together, just like in real life as we were going through innovation workshops and all these kinds of things. So, yeah. It really kicked off, I think, a lot of energy, both within our team and then also with all of our customers, of what they can do. And I think we were very early.
It feels really early. Yeah. It feels really early when you think about, because there's a lot of other companies that are out there that are thinking about AI and agents, but they're approaching it from a very different place. They're approaching it from the assistant place where you it's answering kind of simple questions or helping you with copywriting or helping you with tasks and kind of business goals. But I think what we're doing, where Verve has evolved, is really thinking about the personality and the kind of what is behind those answers and why, because it's people are part of it. And that's why I think it's going to be really important.
So Sarah, as we have kind of ended this year, I know we wanted to highlight some of the key shifts that maybe we've seen this year, because it happened. It felt like it happened slowly and then all at once. So I don't know if you want to kick off.
Sure. So we're going to be talking about 4 different themes. The first being human AI collaboration, which we've talked about a lot, and we've also had a lot of guests on that have talked about it as well. Democratization of innovation. So the idea that we're giving people the tools to innovate and think about design and creativity that, the folks that maybe didn't have those tools before, but AI is giving that to them. Evolution of brand loyalty. So really thinking about how AI can transform how you communicate with your brand and your products. And then, of course, everyone's favorite topic, the future of work. And everyone talks about it, kind of what does it mean for organizations? What does it mean for my job? So we'll dig into those 4 topics this week. And we'll bring in some voices of some of the folks that we talked to throughout the year.
Yeah, we've had a set of incredible guests from all of the leading companies within our industry and also across CPG, retail, to really share their thoughts. And just want to thank each of them who appeared on the podcast many times with no prompting or sharing questions ahead of time. This is just such a fascinating space that I think it takes both us and our customers and people coming together to share insights and ideas and some of the key learnings, because this space is quickly evolving, and I think we get better at it when you can easily share things you're learning and then how do you iterate on it.
And I think we're getting better too, because we kind of think about this as this idea of research in public. We are both researchers, And we have the ability to talk to pretty incredible people to help shape and evolve our learning and our thinking around this.
So where do we get started? So we've got our first.
Yeah, let's get started with human AI collaboration. So this is really thinking about how, kind of where is the intersection of AI and humans, and, how do they collaborate? How do you think about like what stays like in the human space? How's human in the loop when we think about AI? We've had a number of people coming on to talk about this topic, but just kind of thinking, what are your first thoughts when you...
So my first thought was when we were at South by Southwest and I said something of like, AI is not a tool.
Yes.
And
Chad's famous line.
it seemed to cause, people to pause and be like, what do you mean by that? And so this has been a thought I've had for a while. It's just like, yes, AI can be a tool that you use to do different things, but what I started to see in myself was I started to collaborate with it a lot more and starting to give it an identity and personalities. And then if I could do all these different kinds of things, it wasn't just a tool anymore. It became a collaboration partner. And a
sparring partner. You talk about it as a sparring partner a lot. Like you're in this kind of innovation flow. You can think about like flow state. You have a line of thinking and you want to keep like innovating or collaborating, or you kind of want to keep like thinking through a problem. And sometimes the people that you want to spar with or bring into the process aren't available.
Right.
But we've created a platform where you can continue that conversation, continue the brainstorm at any time during the day.
Right.
And it keeps you in that flow. And I think that like it enables like creativity where creativity wasn't before.
Absolutely.
I think one of the other interesting parts about this is when you have that human AI collaboration, there's moments where it enables you to be even more human or have those human moments back. And I'm thinking back on some of the examples these are kind of outside of our industry, but like teaching or in hospitals where, these AIs are able to take some of the tasks off people's plate where they don't necessarily need to be there. And whether that's like checking in on a patient to kind of just check like stats, where the doctor or the nurse would have done that prior. And now they have the time, instead of having to spend all that time like looking at papers while they're in the room, they can go in and hold the hand of folks. And same thing in the classroom. You're starting to see that too, when some of these tools enable teachers to spend less time on the administrative work and spend time on teaching and really understanding the students.
Yeah. I've always liked just some of the use cases where you can ask, agents in our case, just very clear questions about what you actually want to ask.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when you're collaborating with people or you're talking with your doctor, or you're kind of like meandering around what you're actually trying to say because you don't want to either sound stupid or you don't really have the words. Yeah. Just like cut to the chase, doc. Like tell me like what's going on.
Yeah.
I think just by having this experience where you can cut to it and then go a lot deeper within it and still use all the knowledge as a way to get the response that you need to hear out faster. So I think there's just so many interesting ways that this experience can take shape where you can go a lot deeper in topics and not only get the information brought to you in a way that you understand, but you can also ask it in a way that you would ask a question. This is just going to continue to evolve in the words and concepts and how we talk about these and the roles they play within our lives. And it is like, it can be scary.
But don't you think the most human kind of like sounding things, like when we start to talk to them about like as like people or, like that feels approachable.
Yeah, it feels human.
Yeah. Well, obviously it feels human, but yeah, it feels better than starting to talk. Like when we do explore those ideas of like species or like things like that, it just feels a little too. It feels like sci-fi. It feels like
the aliens are here.
It totally does.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the thing we've always focused on with AI is that it's powered by people, and I think that as long as we continue to invest in data sources and people and compensating people and having like a private pipeline of all these different stories, I think is just going to become much more important as you're building out AI platforms. And where is the knowledge coming from? I think we always want it to come from people. Yeah. And so I think that'll be core, through the next year. But I think we're going to continue to see all different types of approaches for how humans and AI work together in lots of different cases.
Well, the first topic is human AI collaboration, and we want to hear from some of our previous guests about what they think about this topic.
I don't think it will replace human-to-human connection in any shape or form, right? Because it's just not, it's not as rich, right? It's not as nourishing. I also think on the creative problem-solving front, I just don't buy this kind of theory that, or fear that we will somehow like give up our agency because AI comes along.
We also need to make sure that we're creating opportunities for our employees to engage with each other and sort of do things on projects that are using that time in a way that's adding value to the work, but is also giving them opportunities to work face to face or sort of interact in ways that are going to help them grow as designers or as kind of people within the organization.
I look at it as a creative partner. That's I mean, the agentic thing kind of gets you into that aspect of, this is a teammate that I'm interacting with. And I think that is going to be a common feel as we go forward, is you're just going to have these little teammates, and some of them are going to be big, impressive ones that do crazy things.
So building off of the first theme around this was just this whole idea of knowledge. It's typically locked up in PowerPoints or in other linear formats. But AI really has this uncanny ability to unlock information and kind of democratize insights, innovation, all different types of concepts and ideas. And so it has really leveled the playing field in some scenarios I'd say rewards people who are early adopters and are starting to use it in really interesting ways and create with it.
So our next topic is the democratization of innovation. You think about these folks that, haven't been part of innovation teams or design teams or the product creation process. But now, because of these tools, they can jump in and, start to create with agents or start to play and become part of this team in new ways. And
Right.
it's leveled the playing field for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I love this. I mean, it's some of the sayings you sometimes hear, like "stay in your lane," and I always hate that.
Yeah.
Because insights and ideas can come from anywhere, and it's usually people who are curious, they're paying attention, they're aware, and maybe they haven't had the opportunity to chime in, or they didn't know how to like frame this as an idea.
Yeah.
Or they didn't have the design skills to create a visual of it. And I think
because we've always invited them to the innovation workshops that you have when you go into these organizations. You're like, I need to bring someone from finance. We need to bring someone from HR. We need someone from, of course, like design marketing and all those places. But there's always that situation where the folks from, finance or, other groups that weren't as integral in design, you can feel that they were like, I don't know how to draw. I can't jump in. I can't be part of this process. But now they can, because they bring something really valuable. It's like new types of thinking, which enable new types of prompts to be able to collaborate with these agents.
Yeah. And I really feel like this is going to reshape what we think of as a workshop. I think a workshop was designed as a way for humans to try to get ideas out. And so it was like the Post-it and the Sharpie and the facilitator and a round table.
Post-its.
But they were all tools essentially to design to get ideas out of our head. Right. And I think that what AI is going to be doing is democratizing that even more, so that the workshop doesn't have to be a workshop that has a start and an end. It can be just continuous innovation. And I think that's kind of the goal and the dream, that these ideas can come from anywhere.
So democratization of innovation. Let's hear from some of our previous guests and hear what they have to say about this topic.
For indie filmmakers, indie creators, even influencers and content creators, you're seeing their capabilities of the types, the quality and the quantity of content that they're able to put out there is, they have more resources and more capabilities than they've had ever before. And just technology does that across the board, because we have access to cell phones, because we have access to digital cameras. We're able to do way more now than we were previous era. And the same thing is happening with AI.
I think it gets rid of innovation workshops. Why do we need a dedicated 3 days when it's something that can truly be embedded in our daily lives? that's what everybody wants, is like this always on funnel of new ideas, and you don't have to wait for a time of the year in order to get it captured or get the attention on it.
So this next topic is the evolution of brand loyalty. And it builds off the previous topic around empowering everybody in the world to have essentially the tools, the opportunity to innovate and innovate the products around them.
Yeah, and so this is like enabling not just the folks within organizations to like recreate and create products and experiences. This is giving consumers, like the people that are buying products, a possibility to be part of that process too.
Right.
So it gives it, you know, this idea of like loyalty, where traditionally you think about like you get like an email because you like sign up, like, you know, somehow like you bought something and you like you gave them your email address and they'd email you, you get some sort of newsletter or something like that. Maybe there'd be some sort of promotions, but it was kind of it. Maybe, you know, like some companies would have like events or something like that.
Right.
But now you can think about this like loyalty in a different way, where you have the ability to now talk to the objects that you are purchasing and that you're experiencing, and not just at point of sale, like throughout the life cycle of the product. So like from the day you pick it up to the end, and it could be things like, how do I put you together? Or what are different ways, there are different things I can cook with you, or depending on what the product is or experience is. So it offers so many other touch points for brands that haven't been possible before.
I remember last year, if you talk to anybody in marketing, there was just so much excitement around launching loyalty programs and like earning points, and this is how we're gonna engage everybody, and they're excited. And you know, it was just like that was the mechanic to get people excited about it. Our prediction, I don't know if you want to join in this one, is that next year it's going to be around using AI to get consumers involved in product creation. And it just feels like whether it's talking to the product or sharing feedback or kind of a mixture of both of these, I think consumers want to have a different kind of experience. And so I really see the brands that want to invest in creating that new kind of experience, so that you might buy the running shoe or the refrigerator or the toaster, all these different products you might use in your life, but they have personalities that come as a companion with them. And this is a new space. I know that like we're kind
It's a new but like old space, because like for a long time we've been talking about like many years the Internet of Things, and Internet of Things was like things are all connected, and like you have ways to be able to like digitally kind of connect things, but they're still inanimate.
It never worked.
It never worked. Like there was like some stuff that they were doing at like MIT, and they're doing some really interesting things with like individual products, or maybe like smart home would be maybe the best example of that. But beyond that, it had to be like literally connected. Like you need to be able to like plug it in or charge it for that to work. But now it's like the new version of the Internet of Things, but the things all have voices, and it doesn't matter if it has batteries or not. It can speak to you, and you can collaborate with it.
Yeah, and this feels like a new dimension you can now play around with if you're a designer or marketer, is introducing personality into a product. Because it used to be like, hey, we designed these pair of shoes or this new backpack, and as a marketer, you're like, okay, I got to try to market this, and but how you kind of had a limited set of like the product is already done.
Yeah.
And so what can you do here? And I think there's so many different opportunities where you can be extremely creative in how this product takes on a life of itself.
Yeah, through voice, like we you can hear with some of the agents that we've had on,
Absolutely.
or voice and personality, and like like kind of how do they greet you, and what does that look like? Because in the past, it's always been things that already have like lights or something. You know what I mean? You have to really think about the form in a new way, like, or a way that's like kind of soft and that like looks friendly and
some new roles that I think will pop up inside of organizations are things like a personality or an AI personality designer. So
conversation designer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it used to be you'd have user experience designers or experience designers, and I think for AI, you're going to have now these people who are going to be involved in creating the voice, the tone, the personality. What does it do? How does it behave? How does it interact with consumers? Does it give compliments? Does it give gifts? All kinds of things.
Chad does not like gifts.
But I think it's going to give rise to a lot of different kinds of roles. And I think a lot of people's fear around AI was taking their jobs. And undoubtedly, it will take jobs that exist today. But it's also going to give rise to all different kinds of jobs as well. And so I think some of those that will pop up will be more around, it's kind of like a psychologist of AI, and like, how are you going to build these personalities? How are consumers going to experience them? And just, I don't know, it has so much opportunity to kind of give a life to a product that no longer feels disposable. And it feels like that could be a part of the answer to more sustainable brands.
And sustainable products too, like ones that people hang on to for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think this could be a piece of the answer that a lot of people have been looking for.
Let's hear about what some of our past guests have to say about brand loyalty.
And so I think the technology advancement and the growth in digital has really driven the swing towards growth hacking over the last 5 to 10 years. So how do I use technology and digital to get my leads, pull them in, promotion, incentives, et cetera, right? And using performance marketing as a way to do that as well. And that has been the dominating voice in marketing. And I think what's happening, and what I think part of it's driven by the cookieless world that we're all anticipating coming into the future, as well as greater competition. I believe fundamentally that consumers out there more than ever are looking for brands to become loyal with, that have shared values, that have something to offer to them, something innovative.
And then, of course, you can have special access or special events that are for people who have bought the product and interacted with the product previously, so that, again, they become a part of that community and you can build that engagement all along the way.
Well, you just touched on it in the last topic where we're talking about, brand loyalty. You're talking a little bit about the future of work. And that's our next topic, is how AI is impacting the future of work. And it is one of the questions that we get. I don't know if you get it. I get it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, is AI going to take my job? What does this mean for my organization? How will I reorg? Should I hire? What should, should I be replacing, my headcount with an agent? So there's lots of questions circling around about this, future and what organizations will look like.
I would challenge yourself when you're looking at, a new role for a person you're bringing on. How might you try to use AI to solve it? If you can't figure out how to do that, then maybe you need to hire a new person for that kind of role. I think when you start to look at agents as, team members or things that you can collaborate with to help you through your job, it creates some new approaches to how you might organize work and how work might get done. I do think it's going to have impact on, what we call meeting today. It'll have an impact on our calendars and scheduling. I think it'll have impact on what we present out as like a final deliverable. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mind just like not doing so many PowerPoints and presentations, and almost just like listening to the information as you drive home or consuming it in a different way. And so I think there's going to be a shift underway over the next 12 months that really starts to look at what is work. How do I build an organization that has both like human members and then also AIs that we collaborate with?
Yeah. I think that in this, this is just being able to have time with a number of brands and, talking to folks that I know within different organizations, and everybody's at a different place, right? Like there's kind of the earlier adopters and then there's more of like the laggard type companies, it's just like they're slower to adopt. So I think that, yes, I do see that in the longer term. And I see that maybe in the next 12 months, it's going to be more of like the early adopter type companies doing that. But I think in kind of the next couple of years, what I see is not necessarily, a change in headcount or not hiring. I just see it as the possibility to do so much more and thinking about like, and iterate more and be able to fail more. So I always talk about, I have through my career, it's like you try to fail fast. You try to like learn through the process and you try to iterate more. And it feels like you could do that with the same amount of people for right now, but just do a lot more of that, be able to collaborate in different ways, have new thinking, and come up with just more meaningful experiences for people. I think in the longer term, I think they're, and there's like billboards, I said, like we're in San Francisco where they talk about like replacing your staff with agents. And I think, San Francisco is a very like kind of leading edge, type of space or like kind of a city. But I would say in general, I feel like
It's going pretty far.
that is very good, going very far. But I would say to listeners, I would say like, I think you're going to be fine. But I would do have to say, in order to stay okay, is to continue to understand and learn AI tools because they're not going away.
Right.
I think you can't ignore it. You need to be part of it if you want to continue to be part of an organization moving forward. So let's hear from some of our past guests about their thoughts on AI and the future of work.
Absolutely. We're watching a massive inflection point right now, right? Where this whole entire industry being effective. I mean, on a general account, economy's doing great, but we're seeing so many corporations laying off droves of people, design, strategy, innovation within that.
A lot of attention and stuff is being paid in a couple areas right now. One is the effect of AI on labor. My colleague Jody Ferlizzi and some of my other colleagues are working with like labor unions to look at like, hey, how is AI going to affect us? And trying to make sure that the people that are affected by AI are in the room when the AI is being developed or being talked about.
I think that as a catalyst opens up and ignites a whole line of thinking around other areas that have that same rich, like human, physical, tangible, more analog, approach. Like again, it goes back to arts and foods and like social and community oriented and other ways to figure out how to. And I think it becomes louder and more salient, like because all of the digital kind of goes to the side. These are very core human things.
All right, Chad, I would love to hear your predictions looking forward to 2025. You've kind of been alluding to some of them as we're going through some of these topics, but just want to get your thoughts on what will AI look like in the next year and how will it impact, organizations for the next year?
Well, I mean, a better part of this year, we've been talking about the rise of AI agents. 2025, we'll see what the hype is about. Why you have companies that are really changing their whole event structure, internal structure, like Salesforce being one of them. Agents are a way to productize insights, ideas, different types of tasks and things you need done. I think we're going to start to see them adopted fully by individuals in your personal life. They're definitely going to play a huge role in work, your professional life. But you're also going to see, startups that can emerge that are using agents as kind of like the early team members, and build companies around agents or multiple agents that work together and create new types of technology, new types of experiences. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that all plays out. But I'm kind of looking at it as, again, like me as an individual, then like what startups are doing. And then how it's also going to start to impact the enterprise and how we organize ourselves around the work that gets done.
Well,
Is that a prediction?
That's a great prediction. I think that's great. And I think we'll have to take a look at it next year and see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have, agents, and then I think workflows. You'll start to see.
And workflows is like how agents work together to accomplish a task.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know we've been kind of in like really deep in building out agents. And so once you start to build them out fully, then you ask simple questions or logical questions where it's like, well, can Chuck collaborate with Jenny and what could they make together? Right. So once you start to do that, you have to build different systems around them that involve, again, more agents, because you need, often you need like a facilitator agent that sits in between. You're going to need a manager agent who can help understand the objective. And so it's not just like now the agent, there's like a whole team of agents that need to be choreographed and orchestrated to generate innovation or how they collaborate together. So you're going to start to see more complex systems like we're building for this multi-agentic world that we're creating.
Well, I have a super fun example of a collaboration between agents. So I don't know if you know this, but I took both of our agents and I asked them to come up with a playlist, like a playlist of songs. So looking back at 2024, our podcast and pulling out the theme. So I was talking to our agents and I was having them talk to all of the podcast transcripts to come up with a playlist that represents.
Is it all sad songs?
There are a few sad songs for sure. But yeah, you have like Daft Punk in here, you have The Killers, you have Muse. But we're going to make this available. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We're going to make this available to our listeners in the show notes. So we'll have access to the playlist. It's kind of like our version of Wrapped through our agent's eyes.
Nice. And this will be on Spotify.
And it will be play it on Spotify, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sweet. Love it.
So, well...
Yeah, this is going to be...
That's going to do it for this year.
This year of AI Powered by
People. Yeah.
What a year. Like, thank you for being an unbelievable... I wouldn't say you're the host. I just get to tag along. I think we just covered so many different topics, so many different people on the show. And I know we're planning some pretty big things for next year.
A lot to share for next year, which will be super fun, and kind of thinking about how do we tell stories in a live way. We talk about events a lot, so there's going to be more to that, more of AI powered by people when it comes to that. Well, thank you. This has been so fun. We've kind of learned how to do this together, so this has been quite a year.
And so we're kicking off AI Powered by People live in Boston.
In Boston on January 14th. And it's going to be, we're co-hosting an event with Other Tomorrow Studio in Boston. And it's all going to be focused around the idea of run for this event, which is part of this bigger area of thought that we're trying to learn about around performance. So we're going to have runners, we're going to have people in the footwear industry, folks that are thinking about biomechanics, and a lot of really cool stuff around run.
Yeah, and it touches all these different facets around research, design, product creation, marketing, strategy.
All of it.
It's everything all wrapped up into one shoe. So...
do you think we need to make a shoe that talks?
I think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Thanks for an amazing year.
You too.
And thanks for all of our listeners that have kind of grown along there with us.
Yes.
Hopefully we provided some insight, some inspiration into what AI powered by people looks like.
Yep.
And more to come.
And thanks to our producer and editor, Steve Berkowitz.
Yeah. He loves compliments from you. So.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.